Of YouTube Live. We have tuned in, I think, 5 minutes late today, just completing the morning OPD. So let us see some questions which were unanswered in the last YouTube. I'll first complete that and then I'll start with the routine questions. Before that, there was a question that whenever there is a grief, so grief is not only related to death of somebody or only in relation to emotions like family, friends, and grief can be over a lot of things. So the question of just somebody has told you something and you cannot answer, and that's why there's a lot of tension and the grief starts, or somebody expired and the grief starts. It is not so simple. Grief has a very wide variety of applications in our practice. For example, you can also grieve about your own condition. Walaikum Assalam, Zinat. You can grieve about your own condition also. Okay, what am I? I am suffering from XYZ disease. I have been suffering for so many years. What is my life? And now how will I do this? How will I do that? How will I run my family? How will I look care of my child? So the patient can have grief about his own condition. That is also one type of grief. Good afternoon, Dr. Vishaka. Good afternoon. Walaikum Salam, Abid. So you can have grief about your own condition also. For example, when the patient has grief about his own condition, the remedy is Staphysagrija. For example, somebody has ditched you. Somebody has, a friend of yours, very close friend, and you believed in him and he has ditched you. So you can have grief from deception also. So this grief has a variety. I'm just giving you an example how to understand grief. Grief from deception. For example, we have remedies like nitramur, lycopodium, naxomica, lacases, ignitia. Grief from deception. In the same context, the patient comes to us and says, Dr. Saab, I am feeling bad, XYZ, because maybe 6 months before I had a huge loss, I had a huge financial loss. There was an income tax rate, there was tax problem, there was loss, somebody had told me to give the remaining money, did not give, and he said, I'll not give the money back. So grief from financial loss also is there, and the remedy becomes arnica and aurum metallicum. So this grief, is a lot. Okay, I'll just first take the question and then tell you something more about grief. Which works better, naxomica or chamomilla, for extreme irritable nature? Difference. See, your remedy, which you have selected the remedy, it is very, very important that the remedy selected matches your constitution. Both the remedies, whether it is naxomica, whether it is chamomilla, both have irritable nature. But why the patient has become irritable, that is very important. For example, if a person is doing some literary work, he is studying, failing, not able to study, not able to perform, and then he becomes irritable, you can think about naxomica. And what is remain in chamomilla? Oversensitiveness. Oversensitive to pain, which drives the patient to despair. That is chamomilla. So these are the basic difference you have to understand in naxomica and chamomilla. For example, I'll just tell you one thing in chamomilla also. The patient basically temperamentally innate character is very nervous, irritable and excitable and oversensitive. Especially oversensitive from abuse of coffee or abuse of narcotics. And the patient is irritable, oversensitive to pain and drives. He cannot bear any pain. It is not that physical pain, even mental pain. He wants relaxation. Even mental pain he cannot bear. In fact, if you open the Mathematics, it is written, too ugly to live. He's too ugly to live. He's so much, he's so much angry, he's so much spiteful, he's so much cross. In fact, he said that it's called as piteous moaning of child because he cannot get what he wants. Whining restlessness. That is chamomilla, in short, which I'm going to tell you. In the same way, if you open Naxomica Mathematica, very, very simple it is written, who are the persons disposed to be quarrelsome. Disposition. That is very, very important. Naxomica especially is a person of an ardent character and irritable and impatient, disposed to anger, what Dr. Hahnemann says. Okay, so it is written where literally persons who are too much at home suffer from violent want of exercise, cannot perform and then becomes irritable, that is Naxomica. Or you can say bad effects of long continued mental overexertion. Mental overexertion, that is Naxomica. But if you ask me, you have to understand why the patient became irritable. Why the patient became irritable, that is very, very important. How to increase hemoglobin in CKD patient. See, there is no specific medicine I have used in my practice for increasing hemoglobin, but there is a medicine called hemoglobin, which I use in LM potency. You can use that. You can use trituration ferrum for 6x, that also works better. And you can use the remedy lecithin 3x trituration, that also works good. Dr. Barbal, hello Dr. Barbal, welcome back again. Navjot, yeah, good afternoon. So today we had we had Dr. Navjot and she visited my clinic, and it was a nice experience. A person from Punjab coming to meet me. That is only because of that webinars and WhatsApp and all. And she gave me a beautiful frame, frame in which the photo of Hahnemann is there and myself also. It's a beautiful gesture. Thank you so much. Maybe I'll sometime put on my status and then you can see the frame. It is very well made. Thank you, Navjot. Hello, sir. With due respect, I would like to ask a question with your permission. Rashik Markandia, you can ask. So let us go forward. So this is Naxomica and Chamomilla. You can always, differentiate more. For example, if you have Naxomica is so sensitive. It is written in the Mathematica. There is tendency to faint from odors. Like we have remedies like Nux mosquito also and sulfur also. We have which have tendency to faint. The same is present in Naxomica. So this is the basic difference of Naxomica and Chamomilla. If you want something more, I can always tell you more. Hello, Dr. Nisha. Welcome. Walaikum Assalam. Multiple sclerosis, how to tackle? Yeah, so multiple sclerosis, first of all, I was always told you that whatever patients I have treated and they have got good results, I will share my knowledge with you. And always say I have few cases of multiple sclerosis. In fact, one patient of multiple sclerosis, which is there with me for a long time, maybe 5-6 years, he was advised to take rituximab. It's a biological medicine for multiple sclerosis, at least 4-5 doses. But after one dose, the patient came to me, and after that, the patient did not require any medicines, allopathy medicines. She is with me. She is normal. She is walking, talking, absolutely normal. She is very fine. In the same way, there are about 4 patients with me under my treatment. They are better with the treatment. Some are improving, some are much more better. The only thing which I would like to share in this case is multiple sclerosis. You cannot give us specific medicines for that, because it would not have any results. All the patients which I am treating have taken from me the constitutional medicines, and that is working very well with infrequent repetition if your remedy is similar. Sir, thank you. Pathogenesis based homeopathy medicines बताइए. For what condition? Dr. Samir, if you tell me some conditions, I would like to tell you some medicines which I also use sometimes in my practice. And sir, can you please share your daily OPD cases whichever you like to, so we can learn? Yeah, definitely. Normally, Nisha, I used to share my cases, but what happened off late in the YouTube, whenever I start sharing cases, there are some questions again on the YouTube, so I stop my case and start answering the questions on the YouTube. So by the time I finish the question answer session, the time is over. So that's why I don't like to share. But then that's what I was telling you, something about grief. There was a question about how to take grief in a practice. So grief, which I would like to share, I just completed the financial loss grief. Now, There are some patients, who cannot forget what happened in the past. They just cannot forget the offenses which have happened in the long past. Don't always think about Natramur brooding, because if you want to enter Natramur case, if you ask me, Natramur case basically is a case where I enter the case, a syphilitic case, by the rubric hatred revengeful. Okay, so just grief from long past offenses. The remedy is calcarea carb. But normally, when the patient comes and tells you, I'm thinking, the first remedy it comes to mind is Natramur. So grief from offenses of the last part, you can think of calcarea, in fact chamomilla, stephysagria and opium also. Okay, so let me take one question. Is vitiligo treatable if case is chronic? Yeah, Dr. Faiz, I have a good amount of cases of vitiligo which are under my treatment and which are much better. Few of them are cured, but there are cases where I have got no results. The patients have left the treatment. So I would say it is basically a disease, a one-sided disease, where the case taking is very important. Just today a patient came to me. She's under my treatment for the past 1 year. She has exactly segmental vitiligo, only vitiligo here, just right side of the face, full right side. Now all the black spots are coming and the patient is much better. She is there under me for the past 1 year and she is much better. Again, vitiligo treatment, the case taking is very important. In fact, the syphilitic part, just one advice to my students, that don't jump into rubrics and don't try to make rubrics if they are not there. Don't try to create it. If you cannot understand a particular condition of the patient, and if you feel it is very important but you cannot rubricate it, forget that. Take some other symptom. A human body will tell you a lot of symptoms from every part of the body to get the simillimum, right from the hairs to the toe, because vital force is everywhere. So don't try to make rubrics. Otherwise, once you try to make rubrics, you will only make those rubrics which you know, and you miss the case. So just be open-minded, just be unprejudiced observer, and you will see that and of course miasm is important, because if you are treating a case of maybe vitiligo, so we have to see the syphilitic miasm. So syphilitic miasm is very important. If you cannot get at the first instance, believe me, remember that if you cannot get at the first instance, give the patient placebo. Call the patient after 15 days. He also understands that vitiligo has no change in 15 days. So in the next 15 days, you can ask something more. But don't waste your medicines if you are not sure about the medicines. This is my advice to you. Mishra ji, good afternoon. Postponing work for next day, Sencris, Contractis or Natramur, Naxomica. See, if you are asking me postponing, see, just by one rubric, if you want to enter the remedy, it would be very difficult to enter the case, because just postponing, first of all, it is very difficult to understand whether it is actually postponing or it is something else. But still, see, if you go to the repertory, and go to the Mater Medica, there are lots and lots of remedy. We have Natramur also, we have calcarea also, we have epismel also, we have platina also, we have Naxomic also, whatever I can remember. So just don't enter this, because this is not the basic rubric. The innate character of the patient is very important. Neuromuscular weakness with ED in diabetic patient. Yeah. So in diabetic patient, ED, if the ED is there, I hope Dr. Siddiqui, you understood something about this, no? And vitiligo, I hope Dr. Fayaz, you have got the satisfactory answer. If you get the satisfactory answer, please tell me something there, some indication, so that I know that you are understanding what I want to tell you. Yeah, ED in diabetic patient is very common. And first of all, make sure that you are able to treat, or you are able to get the sugar under control. That is very important. Once the sugar starts getting under control, automatically the ED problems gets better. Second thing, in sugar, what happens? The arteries, the veins, becomes very thick because of the accumulation of sugar. That's why there is ED problem. So make sure that diet is very important in this case. a diet which is rich in antioxidants, that is a lot of fruits and salads with the diet, and then you can definitely have a better results with your constitutional medicine. Okay. uh, Child cries while day, very obstinate, recurrent allergic rhinitis. Yeah, so whenever the child cries, weeping whole day, we have, very interesting remedies. We had, in a college, that the child sleeps all day, wakes all night, or the child wakes all night and sleeps all day. And we have lots and lots of medicines for that. But now the question is, weeping is there, but in the main thing, the patient has a problem of allergic rhinitis. So now in this case, you have to match both of it. There are few remedies which are very, very important in this case. The first you must think about is Lycopodium. The second you must think about is Sorinum. And third you must think about is sulfur. Please, eczema, silky, kuch hi thick hai again. Burning is there, so you can think about, sulfur. Sulfur would be okay. Whatever I can understand from the question, because I'm not getting the question right. Sir, please share left hand trembling medicines for my mother, aged 53. Left hand trembling. So if you differentiate essential tremors, or because of nutrition, or because of some neurological deficit, there are 2 or 3 things. But just is because it's a mother and it's left hand, you can think about, there is a medicine in homeopathy where you can get this, if you are suffering from left hand tremor, so of course your remedy becomes definitely left handed remedy. But if you tell me some more symptoms, it will be very easy for me to understand and very easy for me to answer also. So left sided tremor, first of all, if you're very sure that the mother is left sided, so we have to have left sided remedy. Trembling, phosphorus, argentum nitricum, sulfur, sepia, stenomate. In this case, an acute medicine also is very important, which I have seen in my practice. Vitamin B12 30 potency acts very well. You can think about that. Fear, dark, fear of alone, right, desires company, delirium, loquacity, threatening, destructive, strength increase, in insanity, stramonium selected, sir, advice potency. If you have already selected stramonium, you will write, you will require repetition, give LM potency, start from 0 by 1. Yeah, Jalapa is also there. Sir, you always talked about Sora. See the patient how he is in soric physiology, how to interpret a Sora to present condition. Whenever somebody asks me about, Sora, I always remember my German doctor friend, Dr. Barbel, because he used to always ask me, where is the Sora? Sora is basically what Hahnemann tells in the matter, what Hahnemann tells us about this is, a man is basically, when a man is born, he has basic qualities which he has. That is the Sora. And when the innocence is broken, when the psychosis and syphilis comes, then the Sora turns to Soropsychosis or psychosyphilis, depending on the challenge faced by the miasm. So if you understand what was the patient before and what has changed, so we basically prescribe on the changed part, and that change we prescribe, so he comes back again to what he was. What he was as it is termed, you have to bring back the patient from syphilis to psychosis and psychosis to Sora. So if you know what was the Sora in the patient, then we will be able to understand the Herring's law of cure. Are you with me, everyone? Hello? Fear of dark, stramonium, that is done. Thank you, Rivangi. बंदा कुछ करके सोता है बट पूरा दिन निकल जाता, इवनिंग में एनर्जी होती, नो पेन फॉर वर्क. You can see simple, you can see if you open Allen's keynote Natrum Carp, the first introduction, the first 3-4 lines, I think the answer would be there. But I would like to see the cause, why the patient has become this way. Fear, dark, fear alone, night, desires company, delirium, loquacity, threatening, stramonium. Yeah, I told you LM potency, doctor. Give LM potency. If you have selected, you think the remedy is right, give LM potency. Start with 0 by 1. At least I start with 0 by 1. I don't jump. Trembling of finger after recovery from Guillain-Barré syndrome. Very, very. If the patient has recovered with Guillain-Barré syndrome, Dr. Joshi, very good, congratulations. A difficult case to treat, but after that also the patient is suffering from trembling, then just understand why is the trembling, and there are certain remedies which are very very important. First think about physostigma, very very important remedy. Second think about sulfur. Third think about Agaricus muscarius. और कितना दिन लगेगा इसको पूछने, तो क्या रूब्रिक और रेमेडी, और कितना दिन लगेगा? See, yeah, I can tell you the rubric, but see, if the patient is genuinely taking your treatment and is not getting results, so he would ask you कि कितना दिन लगेगा. So if that is the case, please don't interpret and rubricate that. Hello, are you with me? Otherwise, in homeopathy, when the patient walks inside the chamber, you can rubricate. Sir, can I come in? There's rubric. He puts the leg first, there's rubric. He comes and direct sits on the chair, there's rubric. So don't rubricate everything. Open aphorism number 6. Open aphorism number 6, what Hahnemann writes? He writes, he is well aware of the futility of the transcendental speculation. Transcendental speculation. Are you with me? Hello, are you with me? Transcendental speculation which can receive no confirmation from experience, but only the changes in the health of the body and mind. Go home and again read aphorism number 6. So if the patient is genuinely not better, he would tell you, okay, sir, kitna time lagega? Otherwise, you can tell impatient. But generally, it has been 6 months and there's no change, the patient would ask you. If he asks you on the second day and he comes, sir, kuch bhi fark nahi, you can take impatient as a rubric, or impulsive. Hello, are you with me? Everyone. Transcendental speculations, a fantastic word Hahnemann has wrote, Dr. Hahnemann Sahab has wrote. Anyone? Have you seen that? So this is the importance of knowing actually whether to rubricate that or don't rubricate that. If you try to rubricate that, he is genuinely asking you, And what is the meaning of transcendental? Means in spiritual realm, related to spiritual realm. That's what Hahnemann wants to tell you. So let us go forward. Medicines for neuro. I told you, you can think of agaricus, you can think about physostigma, you can think about sulfur, you can think about there are a lot of medicines. If you tell me, genuinely speaking, if you tell me the disease, I would not be able to tell you because I don't prescribe on disease now. So for me, just understanding the muscular weakness would not be sufficient. But the remedies which I have been using in my practice since long time, you can think about the remedies like physostigma, agaricus, sulfur, silicia, calcarea, merxol, belladonna, hyoscyamus, stramonium. Thank you, Mishra ji. I have to, yeah. So let us go forward. I was talking something about grief. So if you are not sure about that grief, just tell me so that I can go much forward with that. Otherwise, some question must have been scrolled up. So I was telling you something about grief. In grief, as I told you, it is grief related to himself, about his health, or grief related to the condition around himself, grief related to finance, or grief over neglected duty. This is very, very important. The patient feels that he has not done what he was supposed to do. It was his duty to do but did not do. And the remedy is cyclamen. Grief about past events. There is grief after punishment. This everybody knows, grief after punishment, and the remedy becomes ignitia. So this is, in short, I wanted to tell you. And sometimes, in grief, the patient does not show and does not want to show everybody that he is suffering from grief. So there's a beautiful rubric, grief undemonstrative. There are 2 remedies in that. Previously there was only 1 remedy, ignitia, but now I think cyclamen has been added. That's why I told you grief over neglected duties also is cyclamen. Hello? Are you with me, everyone? No activity, I feel that people are understanding or not. Otherwise, I'm very fast, or you can understand. You can always write that, that's what I know that people understand. So, this is in short something about grief. Uh, there's a remedy which I used after I failed with my chronic remedies. I failed with Nactramure, I failed with Staphylococcus aureus, I failed with Calicara. There's one remedy in which it is written grief, constant and chronic. Grief, constant grief, chronic grief. The only remedy in that is graphitis. I don't know how many must have used graphitis for grief, but it is a very, very important remedy where the grief is always constant and always chronic. One more symptom of grief which I am getting: grief over insult. Grief over insult. When you are insulted, you cannot speak, and there is a lot of grief. You cannot forget that, Doctor Sahab, I was insulted. I still can't forget that. And because that is the starting part of his major cause of diseases, the only remedy in that rubric is opium. Opium. And in hyoscyamus, it is always grief with jealousy. Hello, are you with me? Grief with jealousy is hyoscyamus, and grief over insult is opium. This is in relation to grief. It is very important when the patient tells you the whole case to interpret actually what is happening to the patient. Interpreting the patient's language into the mathematical form or the repertory form is what you have to learn. If I tell you go home and read complete repertory, read Fatak repertory, read Kent repertory, you will go home and read in about 6 months' time. How to apply, that is important. And that can only be learned by either joining a good doctor who has good OPD, who has good case taking insight, and he's able to tell you how to interpret and which symptom to take for interpretation. When the whole case is taken for 1 hour, there may be so many symptoms to interpret. Every symptom interpretation will not give you the remedy which you want, because there will be so many remedies. If you interpret 5 to 10 symptoms, only polycase will come. These remedy would not come. So it is very important to understand which symptom to take for repetization and what symptom to be given more importance, and that in relation to miasm. Hello, are you with me, everyone? Can we go forward? Can we go forward? Okay, so let me discuss one of the case. If there are no questions, I'll just discuss one case and then we'll go forward. The patient came to me, and the patient was, very much mild, gentle, weeps very easily, laughs very easily. A lady was there, but also very rough. Just tell anybody anything on the face, and so she had a dual nature. Her husband told me that she is very rough and she's this and this and that, and her children told me, no, mommy is very mild, she weeps very easily, she does not understand anything, she's very sensitive, whatever we say she cries easily. So she had a very dual nature. Okay, so this is the gist of the case. Of course, I can't tell you the whole case, what we took for 1 hour, but this was the gist of the case we had. So there's a beautiful rubric. At one time the patient is very rough, but yet the patient is very much affectionate. Like for husband, the patient was very rough and harsh and rude, but for the child, the patient is very sensitive, mild, gentle, and weeping. There's a beautiful rubric in our repertory: rough or harshness, yet affectionate. Yet affectionate. The only remedy in that rubric, which is 3 marking, is pulsatilla. Second remedy is, I think, lycopodium, and the third remedy is nux vomica. When we repetized the case, we took this rubric as the entry point. We added just 2 symptoms, and we gave pulsatilla 30 single dose. After a month, 200, and the patient who was suffering from severe gastritis was cured within 3 months of pulsatilla 200 single dose. So this is how you have to interpret your patient's language into rubric form. Okay, so hello, thank you so much, thank you everyone for joining. I hope you liked it, and I hope I like as much as you like, because I like to share my knowledge with you. And whenever you get some results in hearing my YouTube, please do share your experience so that I also get some adrenaline rush. So next time, meet you next Saturday. Thank you.